So the question is, what are the most common challenges you are contracted to solve in a DevOps consulting gig? Ah man, it's pretty much the same as an agile consulting gig, right? It's people aren't seeing working product quickly enough, right? They aren't able to use the things that teams are creating. Perhaps it takes too long to get from an idea to delivery of working product, or even just too long from we finished the product to we can actually get it in front of our customers. And how do we close those feedback loops? Because that fundamentally, DevOps is coming at the story that Agile tells from the perspective of people who are delivering the product, right? The actual delivery teams who are getting the product through, trying to get the product through the production line of delivery. And the most common challenges are, how do you make that faster? How do you automate that process? Which means people often think about DevOps as purely about the automation, but there's a lot of mindset and understanding, lean agile practitioner behind the story of DevOps that enables you to make different choices and have different understandings. It's the same reason that Sanofsky had to drag the Windows team kicking and screaming, was his comment, to shipping a new version of Windows after Windows 8, right? Windows 8.1 was a year later, but they didn't want to do it. They're like, you can't release a new version of Windows within a year. Can you imagine working on a product and believing wholeheartedly that you can't ship a new version within a year? You can't make one code change and ship it to production within a year. That's an incredible length of time for that to be true. And DevOps is really about closing those feedback loops, getting that depends how you think about DevOps, right? I always come back to that story. Are you an Agile practitioner looking at DevOps? Or you are a DevOps practitioner looking at Agile, right? Because a DevOps practitioner will say that Agile is part of the DevOps story, and an Agile practitioner will say that DevOps is part of the Agile story, right? That's different lenses, they're different perspectives, but it's all the same thing. So I don't really count it as any different between it. I do this report for organizations where I analyze what they're doing, and I call it the State of Agile report if they asked for an Agile report, and the State of DevOps report if they asked for a DevOps report. And it's the same report, right? It's the same story that I'm telling. It's all about shortening feedback loops. It's about getting product in the hands of your customers more quickly. It's about, think of all the different feedback loops. How long does it take your developers to validate that the code they've just written actually works, right? I know teams where that's 48 hours because of the tests they have to run because their testing infrastructure is not great. Perhaps that should be rewritten. For me, the most common challenges are any time the customer says, or anybody at the customer says, but in our industry, world, company, we can't do thing because of some other reason, right? Those are the big challenges. It actually doesn't matter what you fill those gaps with. They're the big challenges. Most commonly is we can't have developers shipping product into production because of our we're a regulated industry and we need to blah blah whatever bollocks blah 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 blah, right? Because it's just fundamentally not true. If you go look on the Azure DevOps website, at least the last time I looked, there were a bunch of articles on SOX audits, and a bunch of articles on other. I think there's the federal drug, the US drug stuff. Like, you have to comply with a bunch of stuff, right? There's no mandate that a different person has to test it from the person that coded it. Not in any of those actual things. There's actually, SOX audit is the big one, right? Because it's the financial world. And it's crazy to think that an auditor right, who's a financial auditor would understand anything about software and put some restriction on, and they don't. And the same is true for everything. Get the auditor in the room and ask them the question. If we do it like this instead of like this, is that still okay? And 90% of the time they're like, yeah, it is. Right? Yeah, that sounds like it gets me the same stuff I need. In fact, that sounds like more than I need. That's pretty good, right? And that almost 100% of the time, that's my experience working with compliance in companies, external auditors, is that they don't have the outlook that you think they do, because we make assumptions and we don't ask them. So the biggest common challenges are, we can't do that here. That's the biggest challenge, and it doesn't matter what it is, it's always the same challenge, right? Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please like, follow, and subscribe. I always reply to comments, and if you want to have a chat about this or anything else Agile, Scrum, or DevOps, then please book a coffee with me through NKD Agility.